Alright, this is my idea for a Dormammu buff. Like, this is gonna make him maybe the best Mystic Champion in the entire game. You know what? He deserves it. It's freaking Dormammu, man! So anyways, I think with this buff, it will make him the best Mystic Champion in the game. Dark Dimension. Being inside the Dark Dimension, Dormammu is all-powerful and basically invulnerable. He is a being of pure energy inside his home, making him immune to most debuffs and buffing his mystic powers. Being inside the Dark Dimension, the opponent is in a foreign and dangerous environment where Dormammu calls home, causing the opponent negative effects. Outside the Dark Dimension, Dormammu is nerfed and loses some of his power, having to turn back into a physical form. At all times, he is 100% immune to bleed and poison. Outside of the Dark Dimension, these listed debuffs are 50% less effective on Dormammu. So, you got Incinerate, Cold effects, Armor Break, Shock, Degeneration, Disorient, Stifle, Busted, Fragility. This means minus 50% ability accuracy and minus 50% damage. Versus Science Champs, 50% effectiveness is increased to 25% for each debuff active on Dormammu. So 2 debuffs from Science Champions means the effectiveness of those debuffs are back up to 100. Alright, so Dormammu has Dark Energy. It's a non-stacking passive effect on Dormammu at the start of every fight, and it starts at 0. Reaching certain energy checkpoints grants perks towards Dormammu. 1000 is the max of Dark Energy. Negatively modifying power, Power Lock, Power Drain, Power Steal, or using the opponent using a special attack. You know, they lose power when they use a special attack. Okay. Or nullifying or a buff expiring on the opponent. All of those give Dormammu plus 50 Dark Energy. So once he reaches 100 energy, every 100 energy starting now, the next hit on Dormammu has a 100% chance to miss over 1 second, versus Science Champions decrease this chance by 33% for each active debuff on Dormammu. 3 debuffs means no miss from Science Champions. So at 100 energy, 200, 300, 400, every 100, the opponent misses Dormammu. Alright, so 300 energy, every 100 energy starting now, hits have a 25% chance to deal a burst of energy damage, equaling 50% of the damage dealt. Once you reach 500 energy, every 100 energy starting now grants a passive Fury with plus 5 damage for 7 seconds. Now, once you reach 1000 energy, all of these previous abilities are buffed. So, Miss is upgraded to 2 seconds, and hits dealing energy damage is upgraded to 50% chance, not 25% chance. And Fury passive buffs are upgraded from 7 seconds to 15 seconds, and are upgraded from 5% damage to 10% damage. And all these perks follow you for the rest of the fight. Once using a special attack when you're at 1000 energy, it sends Dormammu into the Dark Dimension. Now, Dormammu inside the Dark Dimension, it's a passive effect for 10 seconds, and it's paused for every 2 seconds when the opponent's power is negatively modified or a buff is expired or is nullified. You're gonna see that a lot. A lot of Dormammu's abilities are tied to the opponent's power being modified negatively or the opponent having buffs being nullified. Alright, inside the Dark Dimension, Dark Energy is restarted at 0 charges, but you still have the benefits from the 1000 energy checkpoint for the rest of the fight. I said that earlier. Dormammu in the Dark Dimension is 100% immune to these debuffs: Incinerate, Cold effects, Armor Break, Shock, Degen, Disorient, Stifle, Busted, Fragility. So earlier it was 50%, now it's 100%. Science Champions can still reduce that percentage of immunity. So what was it earlier? It's 25%. So once you reach 4 debuffs from Science Champions, it's back up to 100% effectiveness. Alright, all attacks deal energy damage as 50% of damage dealt. Upgraded an additional plus 10% damage every time power on the opponent is negatively modified or a buff is expired or nullified. Like I said, I'm going to be mentioning that a lot with his abilities. Miss is paused during opponent's special attacks when Dormammu is in Dark Dimension. Now that's some really cool utility that I added. It's kind of like the Hood and Ghost. So Yeah. Alright, now we're done with Dormammu inside the Dark Dimension. We're moving on. Using a heavy attack on the opponent places a Soul Bond on the opponent. It's a non-stacking passive effect. Soul Bond charges start at 0 and the max is 1000, just like the Dark Energy on Dormammu. Anytime a buff is nullified, expires, or the opponent's power is negatively modified, the opponent gains plus 50 Soul Bond. Once the opponent reaches 100 Soul Bond, every 100 charges starting now gives the opponent a curse buff that has no positive or negative effect, cannot be removed unless nullified. 300 Soul Bond. Every 100 charges starting now inflict a passive nullify effect on the opponent that lasts for 5 seconds. Once you reach 500 Soul Bond, every 100 charges starting now inflict a passive power drain on the opponent, draining 5% of their max power over 5 seconds. And once you reach 1000 Soul Bond, inflict opponent with 2 curse buffs instead of 1. So just like with the Dark Energy, once you reach 1000 Soul Bond, the previous abilities are buffed. So you get 2 curse buffs instead of just 1. Nullify lasts for 10 seconds instead of 5. And Power Drain is 5% of the max power is upgraded to 10% of the max power. And all of these follow the opponent for the rest of the fight. Now, once you're at this 1000 charges, using a heavy attack will detonate the Soul Bond, dealing 500% of Dormammu's attack as energy damage. This also sends the opponent into the Dark Dimension. Soul Bond is expired and can be reactivated from using another heavy attack, starting back down to 0 charges. But just like I said earlier, keep all the benefits from the 1000 charge checkpoint for the rest of the fight. Now, if you're in a situation where the opponent is stun immune, you can't parry, remember, the opponent can miss. So you can just charge your heavy attack, wait for the opponent to dash towards you. They miss, and you use a heavy attack, and you can place the Soul Bond on the opponent or detonate it. So yeah. Alright, once the opponent is inside the Dark Dimension, it's a passive effect that lasts for 10 seconds, and it's paused for 2 seconds every time a buff is expired, nullified, and it's paused for 2 seconds every time the opponent's power is negatively modified. Like I said, I'm going to be mentioning that a lot. Opponents inside the Dark Dimension are passively power drained 2% of their max power every second. Suffer a degeneration of 200 damage every second, plus 200 more damage for every buff that is nullified or expired, or when the opponent's power is negatively modified. And that 200 damage is based on a 6-star rank 2 Dormammu, so it scales with, how strong your Dormammu is. Alright, now we're going into combos. If you use a combo ending with a light attack, like a medium, light, you nullify 1 buff on the opponent. The target does not gain power from the final hit, so the final light attack does not give power to the opponent. Now, while the opponent is inside the Dark Dimension and you use this combo, nullify 2 buffs instead of 1. Using this combo while Dormammu's inside the Dark Dimension, Nullify is upgraded to Buff Steal. So if you are in the Dark Dimension and the opponent is inside the Dark Dimension, you can steal 2 buffs from the opponent. Alright, using a combo that ends with a medium attack. So medium, light, medium. Or medium, light, medium, you get it. The target does not gain power from the final hit. The final medium does not gain power. Power drain, 7.5% of max power. But if Dormammu is inside the Dark Dimension, the power drain is upgraded to Power Steal. And if the opponent is inside the Dark Dimension, the 7.5% max power is upgraded to 10% max power. Alright, moving on to special attacks. Special 1, Soulfire. Dormammu gains 1 passive indestructible buff, protecting damage from any single source. Deal 50% of the damage dealt as energy damage. If Dormammu is inside the Dark Dimension, you gain 3 passive indestructible buffs instead of just 1. Opponent inside the Dark Dimension, inflict energy damage vulnerability debuff for 20 seconds. Energy damage deals plus 25% more damage. So this is nice utility because you won't take recoil damage if you're running Suicide Masteries. And you should be running Suicide Masteries because Dormammu is poison and bleed immune. Alright. Special 2, Dark Dimensional Blasts. Power lock the opponent for 5 seconds. And power drain 10% of the opponent's power per hit. There's 4 hits total, so it's 40% power drain total with the special 2. But if Dormammu is in the Dark Dimension while using a special 2, power drain is upgraded to power steal. If the opponent is inside the Dark Dimension, power lock is upgraded to 10 seconds. Deal an additional energy damage, 50% of damage dealt. All the special attacks have deal 50% extra damage. Alright, special 3, Lord of the Dark Dimension. Life steal the opponent for 10 seconds, regenerating 25% of damage dealt. Now, I'm having a hard time explaining this, but it makes sense in my head. Alright, so after you use the special 3, you put a life steal on the opponent. So whatever damage you do, you're doing an additional 25% damage as life steal, and you regenerate that amount. But if Dormammu is inside the Dark Dimension, life steal is upgraded to 50% of the damage dealt. You life steal that amount, and that is going to be a crazy regeneration. On top of that, if the opponent is inside the Dark Dimension, it's upgraded to 20 seconds instead of just 10. So that's a really crazy regeneration. So we're going to go great with Suicide Mastery because you get indestructible from the special 1, so you don't have to take recoil, poison, bleed immune, and he has really strong regeneration from the special 3. So he's just going to be crazy with Suicide Masteries. Alright, this attack of course deals 50% of damage as energy damage, and nullify up to 3 buffs active on the opponent. And you power drain 66% of the opponent's max power. Done with special attacks, moving on to signature ability, awakened ability. It's called Soul Degeneration. Dormammu inflicts the opponent with a passive degeneration debuff after certain actions are taken. And this is based on a Sig level 200. So, degen debuffs last for 3 seconds and damage is based on Dormammu's attack rating. So, 6-star rank 2 Dormammu has approximately 4,000 attack rating for a reference. Alright, buff expired or nullified, damage is 100% of Dormammu's attack rating. So, if you have the awakened ability, Sig 200, 6-star rank 2 Dormammu, every time a buff is expired or nullified, you do 4,000 damage to the opponent over 3 seconds. He has really strong degeneration from the awakened ability. If the opponent reaches 0% power, 50% of Dormammu's attack as degeneration, so it's like 2,000 damage. And then opponent reaches 100% power, 100% of Dormammu's attack, so 4,000 damage. When Dormammu is inflicted with a debuff he is 100% immune to, you do 200% of Dormammu's attack as degeneration damage, so it's 8,000 damage over 3 seconds. But if you're running Suicide Masteries and you're, of course, poison and bleed immune, the very start of the fight, you're gonna do. Okay, this might be a little. This might be a little too overpowered. I might have to nerf this. Yeah, 200%. So 200% of 4,000 is 8,000, right? And you have bleed and poison, so that's twice. So that's 16,000. That might be a bit too overpowered. I might have to nerf that. But whatever, this is my version of Dormammu. I can say or do whatever I want. And then when the opponent misses, you deal 50% of Dormammu's attack as degen, so 2,000 damage. So that is my version of Dormammu. He has more immunities now. He's immune to a lot more debuffs. And he has a lot of degeneration damage. The opponent can miss. You have a lot of different ways to nullify. You have a lot of ways to power steal. You have life steal. You have indestructible buffs. There's just a lot of things going on with Dormammu, and I had fun making this buff. Let me know what you think. I think this might put him top of the list, best Mystic in the game.